So it's been 3 weeks since I made a video, and you know, in pretty much 3 weeks, things have interesting things have happened around the world. I could talk about Afghanistan, but I think 1,000,001 people have already done that, as well as the disaster that's the Biden administration, more about COVID and all that. But I wanted to make a video. I know already Sticks, Hex, and Hammer has already beaten me to the punch. And I wanted to talk about this person for a long time. And kind of because this person was special in my early 20s. In fact, ironically, it was because of him that I actually was inspired enough to do a YouTube channel. And that is TJ Kirk, also known as the Amazing Atheist. He recently made a video, actually 2 videos, basically calling for a ministry of truth to combat misinformation, as if, an agency like that, couldn't be abused to censor anything that counters the narrative. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Amazing Atheist and how it influenced me to make a YouTube channel, and also to explain why I changed my YouTube channel name for several reasons. The Amazing Atheist, also known as Thomas James Kirk, started YouTube, I think, around 2006. And as I meant, he started his YouTube channel, and I've never really even heard of him until 2009. When I was looking, ironically enough, through Encyclopedia Dramatica, that's how I found out about the angry video game nerd and Christian. And initially, I laughed at him, and with the ironic part was I was going through my mid to late teens as a closet agnostic. And it wasn't until the early 2010s when I started really exploring myself and ironically came back to the Amazing Atheist. Because at this time I was in an interesting place. I grew up kind of my life in both urban and rural environments. So I would say I'm privileged to have grown up in that kind of circumstances where I kind of can understand in ways both in urban and rural environments. And I'll probably get to that in a future video if I ever get around to it. But I felt, and when someone who has grown up in both the city and the country, I felt out of place in both. I felt out of place in the rural communities because, when you're in a rural community, depending on who you are, you may feel like there's really no one you can relate to. And when you're in the cities, it's kind of like the same thing. For me, it was more in the city, in the countryside, was there people who were more open-minded, somewhat liberal, pro-LGBT or whatever. And in the cities, was there anyone who wasn't a stuck-up, upper-class twit who looks down on people that are lower than them economically, and especially if they come from rural areas moving into the cities. And that was when my stepdad at the time introduced me to George Carlin. And George Carlin, I knew who he was. I just didn't know his name or much of anything. I've seen him in a few movies. And George Carlin clicked with me. He was like a big city liberal, but he spoke about things that, that resonated with me. And around the same time, I started watching TJ Kirk's videos in the early 2010s, and I liked them. I may not have agreed with half of his stuff, but there were times that I liked watching his videos, and it connected with me. Because the thing about TJ is that he grew up in rural Louisiana, and he isn't like other people from the country. And, you know, him living in the city and not taking any of the upper classes bullcrap, I resonated with TJ at that time. So, when I was watching TJ Kirk, I was also watching James Rolfe of Angry Video Game Nerd fame, and that was one of the inspirations for me making a YouTube channel. And that was why, you know, I spent a lot of money buying old video games and video game consoles, which I'm thinking eventually on selling. But my plans for making a video game YouTube never really fell through. Now, like I was saying before, I was watching The Amazing Atheist throughout the years, and you'd have to take into account like earlier videos of TJ Kirk versus now. Like, I liked his older videos about like concept of freedom of speech, being critical of everything, you know, having a healthy sort of skepticism. But it was around 2015 when I felt like he was starting to sell out. And that was what prompted me to make my original channel in 2015, known as the Agnostic Libertarian. And, you know, I called myself the Agnostic Libertarian primarily was, I still consider myself an atheist, but I didn't want to be pushing people away because, you know, the atheist label. Plus, my former roommate was, at the time, a devout Catholic and was trying to force me to become Catholic. And thankfully, you know, he didn't. So, I started my channel in 2015, but I didn't make any videos until 2019, when I could actually have a better phone that wasn't a flip phone. But anyways, going back to TJ Kirk, I'll do more personal stuff as this video goes along. So, with TJ Kirk endorsing, it wasn't him endorsing Bernie that I didn't care for, it was him endorsing Elizabeth Warren. That was what prompted me to make the channel. So, as I'm continually watching The Amazing Atheist over the years, and finally prompting myself to make a YouTube channel and make videos, eventually I started watching him less and less, but ironically I wanted to emulate The Amazing Atheist's success by trying to be like him, and because I wanted to, and I still kind of want to make my own podcast. I'm still trying to figure out on a name. But there were other people I wanted to emulate, and like Tim Pool, Stex and Hammer, and all that. And I was leading to a lot of burnout because, you know, with what's been going on since 2016, as well as, you know, with COVID and all that, it's just so much information that I became burned out. And that was actually one of the contributing reasons why I deleted my original channel, along with, you know, stuff been going on with Governor Whitmer, with the kidnapping plot. And I didn't like Whitmer, but I didn't approve of what was going on with the kidnapping plot. And I guess you could say I had a breakdown. But with it going to the recent video of TJ Kirk going with the pro-censorship angle. This is one of the reasons why I am now unsubscribing to him. I should have unsubscribed to Vosh. I'll get to another video of Vosh in probably the near future if I get around to it. But I guess you could say it kind of shows how, like with earlier videos of TJ Kirk and him, like contrasting when he made a video about Obama, and he was chewing Obama out for expanding the Patriot Act and amongst other things, versus now where TJ Kirk is calling for online censorship and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm done with him. And I guess if there's one more parallel I could bring with the Amazing Atheist and myself, ironically, TJ Kirk was inspired by Brett Keane, and I don't know too much about Brett Keane, but if anything, I'm done with the Amazing Atheist, and I'm probably going to, I'm already done with Vosh. I'll make a video when I can on him. But that's what I wanted to kind of tell about my thing about the Amazing Atheist, and I hope that if you like my videos, please leave a like and subscribe. Oh, one more thing about the name change. I recently decided to call myself the Egoist because I've been reading a little bit into Max Stirner. Even by Max Stirner's ideals, I'd be a spook. But I kind of like some of his ideals. That, and also distancing myself from the Amazing Atheist and trying to come up with a unique YouTube name. And it may be temporary, it may be permanent. If you got an idea for a YouTube name, please leave a comment below. But anyways, if you like my content, please leave a like and subscribe, and have a nice day.